Well, alrighty then. Here we are, all together without boundaries. So, welcome again to the Insight Meditation community of Charlottesville, and welcome to spring. You know, despite everything else that's going on, spring is just doing its thing. The earth is turning. All kinds of beautiful things are blooming. Those of us who are tuning in from the Charlottesville area have this luxurious opportunity to feel deeply into this energy that's coming from the earth. So welcome to spring. A couple of announcements before we get into the content a little deeper. IMCC teachers and board members have been meeting to explore various forms of offerings for you. And this COVID-19 may be a long haul, and we intend to offer support, as much of it as we can, and in ways that are yet to be determined. You may have noticed, or if you didn't notice, we do have meditations every single day from 12 to 1 on the Zoom platform, and the container is held by one of our teachers. So not sure what we'll offer next, but stay tuned to the notices. There may be some things that you might want to avail yourself of. Now, tonight's guided meditation will again, as it was last week, offer an emphasis on aspects of soothing and calming, which tonight I will try to include at least a few minutes of review of some of the techniques we did last night. And then the talk will be emphasizing a really important underpinning of meditation practice that gives us the power to steady our rudders in difficult times. So without further ado, find yourself a position that is both comfortable but allows for alertness. So if you're sitting in a chair, maybe seeing if it's possible to allow your back to be off the back of the chair. Adjust your spine and back. And bring yourself into the present, home into this body, and experiencing directly the aliveness. And I invite you to take a moment or two to reflect on one or two things that are, you know, in your life that you feel gratitude for. Maybe just the fact that you can wrangle this technology, you know. Doesn't have to be a big thing. Gratitude, such a beautiful, wholesome reflection. Counting blessings. Seem to find that in all spiritual practices, one place or another. And as you reflect, you might notice that gratitude manifests in the body. Now, to underscore one of the methods for soothing and calming, I invite you to take some deep breaths. And one of the ways to kind of stay with the breath is notation. And so in the mind, with a soft meditative voice, on the inhale, it might be something like 1, 1, 1, 1. Exhaling 1, 1, 1, 1. Inhaling 2, 2, 2, 2. Exhaling 2, 2, 2, 2. So on a nice easy 4 count of inhaling and exhaling, you might find it beneficial to actually use the numbers with a soft voice from the rear of the mind. So we'll just try that for just a minute. And if you get to 10, you start over. Slightly exaggerated breaths. Now allowing breath to come back to whatever rhythm it wants to be at. And for the next minute or two, we'll practice the contact meditation that we did last week. Our contact with the environment. So bringing attention now to the sensations of the touch of your body on the chair or the cushion. Where does your, notice that contact point very simply. What do you notice? Is there pressure or temperature or vibration, or is it blank? Just resting attention there. And now allowing that attention to move to the contact of your feet, whatever they are touching. The contact of your feet to the environment. And now bringing attention to your hands. Noticing the contact of your hands, whatever they're touching. Notice where the contact is and where the contact is not. And now bringing attention to the contact of your body with your clothes. Some places you can feel your clothes, other places maybe not. And finally, bring your attention to the touch of air on any exposed skin. And bringing attention again to the touch of your body with the chair. Is there anything new that you notice? And now the touch of your feet. What are they touching? What new sensation might you notice? And your hands, the contact points of your hand. And the touch of your clothing. Is there any places that you noticed this time that you didn't last time? And finally, the touch of air on exposed skin. Okay, so that was just a little review of some soothing techniques. And now bringing attention to the brow, a kind attention. And we'll begin a compassionate journey through the body, inviting the brow to soften and allowing that attention into the eyes, inviting rest and softening there. Experiencing the aliveness, the miracle of this body. You might install, even in your imagination, a slight upturn in the corners of your eyes, a slight smile. And now allowing that gentle attention to cascade over the whole face. And some meditators like to install a little smile on the lips as a way of enhancing receptivity, as a way of brightening. Experiencing the aliveness on the skin, beneath the skin, and around the skin. And gently cascading your attention to the neck and shoulders. And experiencing from the inside the aliveness, the spaciousness, with the invitation for the shoulders to just let go, just a slight bit more, softening. Now inviting the soft attention to move down both arms. Experiencing from the inside out both the aliveness and volume of space. And pausing for a moment in the hands, noticing the aliveness there in each of the fingers, the palm, the back of the hand. What a miracle this all is. And bringing attention, that kind, soft attention, caring attention to the upper portion of the torso, the rib cage. Experiencing the sensations on the surface of the skin, the front, the back, the sides. And also noticing the gentle expansion with the in-breath and the relaxing, the letting go with the exhale. Very subtle. And experiencing the internal area of the upper part of the torso. Maybe extending appreciation to all those organs that have kept us going. A gentle attention. And then allowing that attention to descend into the lower portion of the torso. The small, the back, the sides, and the belly. With the invitation to soften in the belly, to release. And experiencing the hips from the inside out. And the buttocks. And the genitals. Inviting ease throughout the lower portion of the torso. and allowing the soft attention to cascade through both legs. Experiencing the aliveness from the inside out. The volume of space of the legs. And pausing for a few moments in the feet. Maybe bringing some appreciation to those feet that have moved us along many miles. And now taking some personal, compassionate moments and bringing attention to any area in your body that has been wounded or that needs a little extra TLC. Not trying to fix or change anything, just bringing a warm countenance, is standing by, standing with, just as you would a friend who is hurting. You don't need to do anything, just show up. And now, bringing the gentle attention of the heart and the mind to a place in your body, and some people use the breath, others sound. And rest that attention there as a way of gathering those energies of heart and mind together. And when you notice that you are engaging in a story, planning, remembering, fantasizing, that moment of noticing is a moment of awakening. So without judgment or harshness, noticing how that awakening is different than being in the story. The freshness and vividness of presence, senses online. Just resting there, noticing the difference, allowing your body to learn the difference, your nervous system. And then taking some moments to relax any tension in the mind, releasing any tension there, and maybe bringing attention to just a few areas to relax. Maybe reinstalling the smile if that's useful for you. And then when you're ready, landing softly again in your anchor, which might be the breath or body sensations or sound. Taking your time gently. And for the last few minutes of our practice, simply let go of all technique. And just allow the phenomena of creation to just play without pushing or grasping. Sensations in the body, thoughts, emotions, sounds, just allowing, not chasing or pushing away. It's the miracle of life playing through. Everything arising and passing, having its moment of flowering. The very essence of creation played out as we sit here, awake, alert, allowing. And may the wholesome energy and intentions of our practice together tonight, may those energies and intentions be combined with those of all contemplatives through all time, those of the past, those of the present, and those of the future. And may all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be happy. May they come to know the true causes of happiness. May all beings be well. May they be peaceful and at ease. And may they be free. All right, well, maybe we'll kind of roll along here in our new format. And I imagine you are, as I am, and all of us with varying levels of challenges or deep in the process of finding your new rhythms of living. I mean, we're all having to readdress lots of different areas in our life. And just as an aside, I've also noticed in the larger culture that there's been a bunch of articles on meditation this last week and how practices can help during this time, yada, yada, yada. And even the Harvard Business Review had an article, I think it was yesterday, that came out. Nothing new for us, but the culture's, you know, struggling in lots of ways. And there's a kind of franticness that's more abundant than usual, I think. And so people are, oh, there is a thing called meditation. So doubling down on your meditation practice is a wise choice. Actually, it's always a wise choice. So, it's interesting, but I've always been blessed with the gift of being able to sleep well, no matter what's going on in my life, or no matter what's going on around me. But even given the sound sleep that I'm used to, lately I awaken to consciousness in the morning with actually, it's a feeling that I've had numerous times in my life. You probably all know the feeling. You're coming out of that groggy kind of hypnagogic state, that place where your systems are just coming online. You're reconstituting yourself and your world, and kind of that, just a moment of, where am I feeling? And now these mornings, it's like, oh, I understand what's happening now. COVID-19 is happening, and all that comes along with that. That's the deal, you know. And I noticed it's the same kind of feeling that like I felt in other times in my life where there's been significant challenge. It's a kind of it's a little bit sobering, like, awake. Oh, these are the conditions. I can remember, it's now been a long time ago, waking up in a hospital bed in Boston, being just that moment of disorientation many years ago. Huh, this isn't Virginia. I'm not at home, and I'm in this hospital, and I have cancer, and oh, those are the conditions. And also, at times, when I've lost loved ones, especially kind of right during that period of grieving, and come into consciousness, and oh, my mother's gone. She's not alive now. The new conditions, or my father, or a friend, or remember, when my beloved dog had to be put down, and I so missed the moments of consciousness which were punctuated by, when she saw my eyes open, her tail would start thumping on the floor. But that wasn't happening anymore. There were new conditions, So, the feeling. Each day we re-inhabit the conditions of the day, and conditions that are sometimes not so easy. So tonight, I'm going to offer another method of soothing. I'd like you to have your toolbox filled with different methodologies that you can use. But we'll practice that in a bit. But tonight, I want to touch on the importance of coming to deeply know and experience impermanence. So tonight's a kind of a two-tracked approach. All right, we're number one, cultivating various ways of supporting tranquility. But the second tract is the contemplation of impermanence. many Buddhist monasteries end their day with this particular chant. And it's, it's my favorite, and I actually use it all day long. And I'll say it outside if I'm not in public or whatever. It goes like this. Anicca vata sankhara upadewa ya damino upajitva nirajanti tasun vupasamo sukho. And that means all conditioned things are impermanent. They arise and pass away. Understanding this deeply brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. And it's the way many monasteries end their day. So this insight into impermanence is central to Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist practice. The whole practice is designed to point you toward being calm and balanced, equanimous, if you will, in the midst of change, and to help you cultivate a wiser responses to this continual flurry of comings and goings that make up a life. In fact, if you wanted to, you could look at Buddhism as one extended reflection or meditation, if you will, on impermanence. On impermanence as a means to freedom, ease. The Buddha's last words were, all conditioned things are impermanent. Strive on with diligence. Okay, now he was dying. He'd taught for 45 years. There are volumes of his discourses. He could have punctuated those last utterances with anything. But he chose, all conditioned things are impermanent. Strive on with diligence. And the way I've always taken that is, hey, don't forget the nature of things, impermanence, and do some practice, Anicca is the Pali word for impermanence. It's the core tenet of nature. It's the nature of nature. And all the spiritual practices and religions that I'm familiar with address this truth in one way or another. And of all the different truths that the Buddha talks about, the truth of the impermanence of existence, how things are, how nature rolls, is probably the easiest to understand intellectually. It's an idea that an average person on the street who doesn't think much at all or ever about religio-philosophical things would readily agree. Oh, yeah, I get it. Everything changes. So on the conceptual level, this business of impermanence, it's not a stretch at all. You don't have a problem with it. Most people don't. But why does a Buddha emphasize this so much? Why spend time contemplating change, turning the heart and mind towards this, including contemplating things like aging, sickness, death? Why contemplate these things that you don't have any control over? In his 45 years of teaching, the Buddha, is constantly paying attention to the struggle and pain and suffering of his students and the people that he saw as he walked around what is now northern India and Nepal all those years, teaching as best he could these practices. And he noticed that when anybody tried to ignore or to resist or turn away from the most fundamental truth of nature, he saw how their suffering intensified in direct relationship of how much they resisted this flow of nature and how they would exhaust themselves kind of thrashing around, struggling against just the way nature rolls. Nature is flow. And you are part of nature. This from Zen Master Dogen. To what shall I liken this world? Moonlight, reflected in dewdrops, shaken from a crane's bill. To what shall I liken this world? Moonlight, reflected in dewdrops, shaken from a crane's bill. I mean, from this little verse, you get the feel for the fleeting nature of it all. The moment, the flash of moment after moment. And you can just in a cursory fashion, everything's changing. Everything is in motion. The continents are still drifting. You know, Antarctica used to be tropical, and now it's sitting at the southern end of this little globe that we're on. In 2011, in 1 minute, Japan moved 17 inches during that earthquake, okay? The earth itself has never been in the same place it's never been in the same place. You know, think about that. It spins on its axis 1,000 miles an hour approximately, and it's moving along with the solar system, along with the other planets in the solar system, circling the sun at 70,000 miles an hour. And our whole little solar system moves through the galaxy at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And there's 1 billion solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy, all moving. In the whole galaxy, the Milky Way, you know, the other night it was really clear out. And with the lowering of pollution, we're going to get some good stars going forward. The whole Milky Way galaxy is moving together at 1,000,000 miles per hour towards something scientists are calling the big attractor. So, and there are millions of galaxies, billions of solar systems. Star systems are being born. They're dying out, they're colliding. Everything's in flux, everything's in motion. And when we just put down the Hubble telescope and pick up the electron microscope and go the other direction, it's just as strange, you know? If you blow up the nucleus of an atom to the size of a pea, the electron that whirls around it from 10th grade science, it would be the size of a piece of dust a half a mile away. That's just the beginning. If you look even closer, you break into the components of the atom, you find smaller particles that change time, that change form millions of times each nanosecond. And on closer inspection, it's all just energy, vibrating energy. Fields of energy scientists are just beginning to understand in the most rudimentary way. But the Buddha understood this macro and micro world without any aid of any fancy instrumentation. His instrumentation, though, was actually very sensitive, very sophisticated, entirely organic, close at hand, his 6 senses. Applying these 6 senses directly to experience was all that he needed to awaken. It's just as your practice asks you to do. Observing mindfully the arising of passing of phenomena over and over. The breath, the body sensations, emotions, thoughts, sounds, internal, external, the entire changing play of creation. Now, knowing intellectually that things are impermanent is where you start. But unless you take on the training of sitting quietly and directly watching over and over the bubbling, arising, and passing of this creation over and over until your very cells start to know it, accept it, only then is life transformed. But that's exactly what you do in your practice. That's what's asked of you, to pay attention like that. And when your cells in a kind of visceral way begin to accept this change, this impermanent flow, it's naturally to relax more. The interior war starts to cool. The interior war, where you're trying to freeze things and solidify them to be one way or another. This from Pema Chodron. Impermanence is the goodness of reality. Just as the four seasons are in continual flux, winter changing to spring, to summer, to autumn, just as day becomes night, light becoming dark, becoming light again, and in the same way, everything is constantly evolving. Impermanence is the essence of everything. It is babies becoming children, then teenagers, then adults, then old people, and somewhere along the way dropping dead. Impermanence is meeting and parting. It is falling in love and falling out of love. Impermanence is bittersweet, like buying a new shirt and years later finding it as part of a patchwork quilt. People have no respect for impermanence. We take no delight in it. In fact, we despair of it. We regard it as pain and we resist it. Somehow in the process of trying to deny that things are always changing, we lose our sense of the sacredness of life. We tend to forget that we are part of the natural scheme of things. Remember that chant, you know, it's the nature of all things to arise and pass away. Happy are those who can live with this wisdom. So as you explore outward into the cosmos, you find nothing solid or stationary. And as you explore inward again, you find nothing solid or stationary. There's an awful lot of change going on. And if, as Pema said, you regard change as pain, and there's a whole lot of pain going to go on. The struggle, and when you struggle against nature, the Pali word for that is dukkha. But let's be honest. I mean, looking directly at impermanence can bring up fear. It can freak us out sometimes. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no strap like in the subway. There's nothing. I mean, and working these days internally with the presence of COVID-19 can be a bear. That's why the Buddha developed this gradual approach to getting with nature and not pitting yourself against it. It's a simple practice we do. Over time, you get organically acclimated to the way of nature by noticing change, tuning yourself over and over to the movement of everything, the arising and passing of phenomena. Yeah. And that understanding slowly seats itself deeper and deeper in you. Becomes part of your perspective. It's an organic part of your perspective. The Buddha calls it wise view. The Buddha saw the inherent stability of life, of all of nature. And he emphasized over and over that when you cling to anything, life becomes a struggle. It becomes more difficult, more stressful, more unsatisfactory. You know, the Buddha speaks of clinging in a larger sense, of on one hand, trying to keep things as they are, hold fast if you like them. And on the other hand, pushing them away, thrashing around of anything you don't like. What this grasping and pushing have in common is this characteristic of stickiness. When you're clinging to something, one way or the other, the mind and heart, it's sticky, it's stuck. There isn't flow or relaxation in the mind. And the heart tends to constrict. Clinging's like rope burn, if you will. You're trying to hold on to something that's moving. You know, it's constantly changing. Ouch. Yeah. Now, there is a lot of happiness in life. Of course there is. There's lots of pleasure in life. But since things are in constant flux, the chances are that whatever happiness there is today won't stick around, at least on a permanent basis. But lucky for you, the opposite is also true, that whatever situation you find difficult, that's not going to stick around either. That's going to change. So it's this basing your happiness on external conditions. It's an iffy proposition. I mean, really, if you can go out and nail down all the external conditions in your life and make them favorable and keep them that way, well, congratulations. You'll be the first one to ever do it. I mean, the conditions that we're all living in today, they show us the futility of thinking we can do that. It's like right in our face now. You know, it can become a mad scramble of trying to get everything nailed down. So in practice, in a spiritual practice, in your meditation practice, when you finally get to see and understand and take in the truth of dukkha, the suffering, and the futility of always looking to heal that outside yourself, I mean, you eventually come to the point where the real way to freedom is inward. And the first step is just acknowledging and recognizing the natural existence of change and instability. You know, cultivating a powerful, wise view that viscerally, deeply supports and informs you of the nature of nature. From that deep, organic place inside. That takes time. It powers up incrementally. It's a result of paying close attention to movements of this creation over time. The process of building this power, a lot of it is so enjoyable. You know? And it builds strong equanimity. It's so needed in times like this, equanimity. You know, as I promised, I wanted to share just another short technique for bringing on tranquility. And last week I mentioned that when emotions or physical sensations become too much and you make the judgment as a contemplative artist in charge of your canvas, so to speak, that you're about to become overwhelmed, if you have that sense, that bringing your attention to something neutral or positive in your body, or neutral and positive, something neutral or positive in your environment, when your body is all activated, can allow your natural relaxation response, your parasympathetic nervous system, to come online and chill. But interestingly, the technique we're going to do now for just a few minutes, if you get deeply, deeply into it, this particular technique can also lead to very deep states of samadhi called jhana. Very restful and restorative and amazing. That's a topic for another evening. So just for a few moments, let's just settle back in. Take a few deep breaths. Coming home again to the body, finding a relaxing posture. And now exploring. Is there a place in your body that feels pleasant? or neutral. And when you find that, make it the object of your meditation. Could be palms of your hand, the tip of your nose, your whole back, your legs, your feet, doesn't matter. Large or small. Just, is there anything that feels positive in your body? And bring your soft attention to that. And when the mind moves away, just bring it back to that positive or neutral spot. And if there is no place in your body, find something in your environment. Painting, a plant, whatever does it for you. Put your attention there. Simply resting attention, breathing into that pleasant or neutral place. Allowing attention to rest in the pleasant or the neutral. Breathing, if you will, into the pleasant. Okay, so another technique, and you might try it sometime. I mean, how bad does that sound? Oh, I'm going to sit down and my object of meditation is something pleasant in my body or neutral. So give it a try, and if you apply yourself, you might stumble across some interesting things. So now we're going to exercise technology in a way. We're going to break into small groups with the inquiry and the sharing, and this is where community is really helpful. A couple of simple questions, and you may be able to help others, and you may learn some things. And the question is, what are you doing to support calm in yourself during these times? What rhythms might you be exercising? What works for you, you know? And on the flip side, what of your activities have you noticed that lead you away from tranquility? And so there's really two questions with a flip side. What are you doing to support calm in yourself during these times? And what activities have you noticed that when you participate in them lead you away from tranquility? Okay, dear ones, take care of yourselves, be well, love as best you can, and good night.